What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the BookMine Academy. In this video, we're going to talk about the 5-step profit checklist. These are just a few rules that you guys should be aware of to make sure that when you come across any books on BookMine, they're books that are actually likely to be profitable and therefore make you successful. Of course, I'm joined here with my good friend, Victor Gallegos. What's going on, man?
Joji, how's it going? We broke it down to 5 steps, just 5. In these 5, you're going to get a really profitable book. So excited to dig in and let's go.
All right, so this is going to be linked down in the description of the video. Again, just 5 check marks here. The first thing is a selling eligibility and a counterfeit likelihood check. So why is it important to know if you can actually sell the book?
That's probably the most important part, right? Amazon gates a ton of books. So you got to go in and get the ISBN number and stick it in your account just to verify whether or not you can sell it. And it'll come back that you can sell it, and that means you're good. Or sometimes there are books that are gated and you're not going to be able to sell those books. And then the other part is also counterfeit, right?
Yeah, we also have a counterfeit check. Yeah, so I mean, for example, here's a book that just popped up on BookMine. This is an amazing book. I mean, this is $6 in and out of stock. And we'll go over this book with the 5-step profit checklist. But essentially what you can do is on Keepa, you can go and take this 10-digit number here. You can copy that. You can go over to Amazon. You just come up here to the top left, go to catalog, add a product, and then you'd go ahead and just copy and paste that in, and you'll see, okay, select a condition. I can sell it in new, collectible, or used condition. Obviously, we're only going to sell the books in used condition. And you can see I can sell this product. Now, sometimes they'll say, hey, you don't have the ability to sell this book. And Victor, if you don't have the ability to sell the book, would you be buying the book?
Oh, definitely that. And that's why it's the first step up. Basically, it's a no-go after this. If you can't sell it, move on to the next book.
Absolutely. And by the way, if you guys do open, let's say, the Amazon webpage, and you do have SellerAmp, you could also have SellerAmp essentially attached to your Amazon account, and it will give you the selling eligibility. That's probably the easiest way to do it, in my opinion. And you can see it says that I can sell it. So that's the first thing. Make sure you can actually sell the book. Now, the second thing, like Victor just mentioned, is the counterfeit probability check. So again, both of these are going to be linked for you, so you guys have easy access to it. And again, all I'm going to do here is paste in that same ASIN that we got from Keepa, the URL, click check. And what does this mean if this says counterfeit likelihood unlikely?
So a green check mark and a counterfeit unlikely definitely means more than likely this book isn't counterfeit. So go ahead and sell it. Still make sure your prep company or you check it once more over. But yeah, you're good to sell it.
Yeah, and one other tip here, guys. I mean, you can kind of look at the subject matter. Like, this doesn't appear to be a textbook. It came out in 1997. It doesn't look like a textbook at all. But yeah, we'd always recommend running it through that calculator because you never know. And obviously, if this says likely or very likely, would we recommend even touching that book, Victor?
No, definitely burn the book.
Just move on to the next one. There's plenty of books that are not going to be likely to be counterfeit. So just move on to the next book. So once you have those two things out of the way, that you can sell it and you know that it's not counterfeit, you guys can go on to the next check, which is going to be the 50% ROI check. So essentially, what you got to try to do is start with the buy cost, put the buy cost in, and then try to put in a reasonable selling price based upon historical sales. So let's just do that first part. So we can see BookMine told us the exact value of this book right here, which is a price of $6, Victor. So I can come over to SellerAmp. I can go and type in a cost price of $6. Now, Victor, we're going to have to try to figure out what the average selling price of this book is. So
that's right.
Here's the Keepa graph, and kind of what are you seeing with the price of this book over the last year? Or what do you think would be like a reasonable selling price?
Well, it goes in and out of stock, but I'm looking at around $35 is probably a good dependable, $30 to $35 is a good dependable price to sell this book for.
Right. And interestingly, you also had this in March, a few sales range drops that looks to be, it's got to be at least $60 to $70. So amazing flips back then. We can also look at the last 4,500 days. This is an amazing book. You can see it ebbs and flows, but in terms of holding value, it consistently can go back up and sell in the 30s. So I would agree with Victor. We're kind of looking at just an average price. So we're not necessarily going for the highest sales range drops. We're not going for the lowest sales range drops. So we're just trying to go for, okay, there's a steady number of sales range drops. This is with the lowest use prices. I think that 30 to 35 range is good. And then like Victor mentioned, this book is in and out of stock. This is a juicy book. And Victor, I'm not sure if I ever told you that, but books that go in and out of stock, they're juicy because if you come in stock, like this person came in stock, I mean, you own the market essentially, right? As long as you're selling it at a reasonable price. So what you could do is, I would say reasonably, I'd say 30 to 35 bucks would be a good idea. And would that meet the 50% ROI check?
Oh, it'd blow it out of the park. 257%. That's awesome. I would definitely buy this book. Matter of fact, after this, I probably won't buy it.
Yeah, I would also buy it. It's in acceptable condition, so we'd probably want to make sure we check the sellers, see what kind of feedback they have, and see what they say. But this is a book that you could potentially even sell for more than that. And even if you had to sell for a little bit less, which I don't think you would need to. I mean, you can still make about a $7 profit. By the way, Victor, would I need to touch this book, flip through the pages, like see if it has coffee stains? Would I need to ship it into Amazon? Like,
no, this is already your cost after you're the prep company. So basically, all you're doing is clicking buy, and then your prep company does the rest of it for you. They're the ones who are going to open the book, review the book, tell you if there's any issues with it, and then send it to Amazon. So all you did was just literally click on the book to buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you can come down here to total fees. If I click on total fees, you can see we're going to have our referral fee, our fulfillment FBA fee, and then I've also included my prep center fee, $2.25. So I use Central Virginia Prep. And Victor, who do you use for your prep centers?
Little L Prep, and they're a great company. So both I think we really recommend them. And for me, it would be $1.80, but we're about the same.
Yep. So if you guys also want to use Seller, we have a link below in the description if you guys want to go and check that out. Give us a small kickback. Otherwise, don't need to. But this is a book that is going to go and satisfy the 50% ROI check. Now, some other things that we have to look at: low or medium historical offer count. So can you kind of just tell us, Victor, where on this graph would we be looking for like historical supply?
Well, one of the things I like to look at when I'm looking at a Keepa chart is the entire year. And one of the things I kind of hone into is the used offer count today versus a whole 365 days ago, which would be at the very beginning of the chart. And if those two are kind of very similar to each other, I'm already feeling good. And if it kind of was within that normal range, then basically that's already a green check. And now I'm going to move on to the price.
Right.
But if the used offer count is spiking, it is like it's never been this high. That's going to give me pause. That's going to be a yellow, maybe even a red flag if it's maybe say even double the used offer count that's been historically. So and we've kind of honed you into that on BookMine. We'll let you know if a book's oversupply, we're putting that in red, and if it's extremely oversupply, we're putting that in dark red to let you know, hey, maybe that's a really good price, but it's extremely high in offer count. So that's what I'm meaning.
So we could just go and take a look and show you guys. So these are oversupply within the last, basically 180 days. So we can go and click on both of these in Keepa, and we can kind of show you what we mean here. So if you go and take a look at this graph, you can see in the last, 6 months, this is the book that was hanging out on the 4 and 5 offer count, and it's gone up about 25. So it's gone up pretty substantially. But one thing that is really important is looking at the entire year, like Victor mentioned, right? What do you see, Victor, if you compare the offer count today to the same day last year?
It's about the same. So it's possibly repeating the same trend as it has in the years past. So this is not a red flag for me. It's more of so it's following the same patterns as it has in historically.
Yeah. And so that's also another pro tip for when using BookMine. Supply meter is generally going to be a good metric for, okay, this is an oversupply, but remember that a lot of seasonal books, specifically college books, but also high school books, even winter books, those we would expect to increase in supply when we're not in season. So just because you see oversupply, even though we do kind of negatively weight the BookMine score, just remember that that's not always an automatic bad thing. That sometimes it's a healthy sign of a book, having a lot of demand and then losing demand until the next season comes around, right, Victor?
That's right. Because, nobody's looking for a Christmas book in March, except us.
Yeah. So again, here's another example. What would you consider this here, Victor? So over the last 6 months, again, we can see why BookMine said this would have a higher offer count because we were kind of hanging out on the 12 to 13, 14. Now we're at the 19. So we have a little bit of oversupply. What would you say about a book like this?
So, I mean, it's moved up, but it hasn't. It has doubled. So it is something to look at. It's probably not going to get those high prices, whatever it was there at over $200. But I'm saying it has some really consistent sales right there in the $150 range. So I feel pretty confident in selling in the $150 range.
Okay. So yeah, we can see that, you can see the periods of time where we were also higher in the past. And generally, when you look at higher offer counts, we generally tend to see lower prices and vice versa. So here's just a great example, just this little period of time where you can see when the offer count tends to be a little bit lower, you can see the prices a little bit higher, and you can see when the off counts are a little bit higher down here, then the prices are a little bit lower, right? And the same thing, you can see the off count starts dipping, and you can see the price start rising. So just some simple supply and demand there. But we want to make sure that we're at a low or medium historical off count. If you're seeing something that's just super, super spiking, that's going to be a bad sign of something you're going to want to stay away from. So let's look at something that's very oversupply, and let's see what BookMine brings back. Potentially, we can see something that's just at an insanely spiked offer count. So maybe we can just open up a couple of these, see what's going on, see if any of them kind of meet that criteria. We could say this is something that was kind of in the 5 or 6 offer count, went up to about 15. So double, I mean, that's pretty substantial. So you can see that that's something that's noteworthy. There's probably some here that are actually really bad. We just got to open up a couple. So let's see what we got here. Okay, so here's a really good example. You can see us hanging out 8 or 9, 10, and now it's up to about 30, Victor. That's a good example. And then here's, again, one that comes back. So this is what? Behind the short story. So again, this one says very oversupply. But again, this is one that in the last 6 months has gone from right around like 4 or 5 up to 20. So that's a big increase. But again, what are you seeing, Victor? Today's offer count versus last year's offer count at the same time.
And that's why this is important. But what I'm seeing over the year is basically the same offer count from year over year, kind of very similar. So not necessarily a red flag here either.
Right. So there's a little bit of nuance to it. So we just want to make you aware of that. But low or medium historical offer count. All right. Next thing, Victor, is low stock quantities among sellers and mega sellers off of the listing. So let's talk about stock quantity and offer count. So what's the difference, Victor, between, let's say, stock quantity and offer count?
So the offer count is how many users are selling this book, how many booksellers are there. But each seller could have more than one unit, right? So who are the people who usually have more than one unit are the mega sellers. So think of like Rent You, Apex, Rock City Books. They're usually having 10, 20, 50 copies of this book. And why that's kind of a thing we have to watch out for is because if Rent You has 50 copies of this book, first off, they're going to own the buy box and they're going to continue to bring the price down until they sell all their 50 books. So that book will continue to go drop in price until they are done with their 50. And lots of times I don't want to play when they have that many copies.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, if we look here at the offer count, you can see new and used. So it says 22 here. So if I just filter and just click on used only, so you're going to see that we got ourselves the 21 options there. And you can kind of see here at the Keepa graph, if I click the day, you're going to see it says offer count is 21. That's the number of people who are actually, that's the number of like Amazon seller accounts listing this book. And then going back to Victor's point, we have stock quantity, which is going to help us see the number of books in stock. So it looks like everyone here has one in stock. A red flag, Victor, would be what?
A red flag is basically if Rent You has more than, say, 20 copies. It also depends on how much demand there is. But usually if Rent You has more than 20 copies, I don't want to play on that book.
Yeah.
And I'll move on to the next book.
Yeah, especially
so a book like this, 10 copies if Rent.
Yeah, even 10 copies, because this is a book that sales rank doesn't improve. It doesn't drop very often, right?
Right.
So this is something that if they had, like, even for me, if they have like 7, it'll be avoiding there. Now, just a quick little hint or tip, how to find the stock quantity is pretty simple. You're just gonna, on Keepa, when you look at a product from BookMine, you can come up here to the top right of Keepa, go to your settings button, then go to the website cog on the right. And then you're going to scroll down to the bottom under add-on settings, and you're going to go ahead and click the display stock quantity on offer listing pages. I think it's defaulted to no, and you're going to go ahead and click yes. And now when you're refreshing your page, you're going to be able to see that stock quantity, which is going to be super helpful. All right, so what we're going to do also is try to see if we can find a textbook that is going to have one of the mega booksellers on it. And what we could do to try to find that is generally the mega booksellers are going to be on the listings that have a better sell-through rate. So we're going to go and click the selling meter at like 7 to 10. And we're also right now filtered by very oversupply. So it's very likely that some of these books we're about to look at, we have, that we're going to have them on the listing. So let's just take a look, see if they are or they're not. And here we go. Okay, so I'm over here on this personality book. I can go over to Amazon and let's go and take a look. So we do have a prime seller in the buy box, and let's see. Looks like it's Grace. Okay, so we can see we've got 1 in stock, we got 1 in stock, 2 in stock, 1 in stock, 1 in stock, 2 in stock. So are you seeing a mega bookseller here, Victor, with a ton of stock?
No, not yet. And it doesn't look like they're on here. So
yeah. So it doesn't look like we're on there. We couldn't even sell this book when not eligible, so that's good to sell it. I'm saving this, but not that book. All right, so we're over here on another book, Empowerment Series. We can see that I can sell this. Again, let's look at the offers. It looks like these offers are from merchant fulfilled sellers. And again, are you seeing any of the mega booksellers here?
No, so far I have not.
So far we're so good. I'm sure we're going to find it here somewhere. Let's just go and click reset. And what we'll do is let's just look for anything that, again, selling meter 6 to 10. And this time, we won't say, if the offer count is very high, if the supply meter is very high. All right. And then what I'm going to do is just look for any textbooks because, right, Victor, most of the time, is Rent You or Apex Media be selling a book from 1970?
No, they're going to be selling really in-demand books, and most of those are college textbooks.
All right, so let's go and take a look at this one. You can see this book here has a pretty aggressive repricing war. We could just probably click on this and see if maybe we see any of the sellers. So come over here. Let's go and take a look. And it looks like the buy box is a merchant fulfilled seller. So we might not even have it here, but we can filter by prime. See if we can. So again, are you seeing any of the major textbook sellers here?
I'm not.
No. And so used condition, then we have some in new condition. We have quite a few in stock in new condition there, but let's see if we got any here. Man, how come we can't find any, Victor?
This is fun. When you're not looking for Rent You or Apex, they're on every listing. But when you're wanting to look, they're nowhere to be found.
They're nowhere to be found. So again, let's go and filter this one by prime and see if we got anything. So it looks like we've got just a few. Okay, here we go. This is the first.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. Apex Media. So we got. So let's give some context. We got a couple offers at 18, then they go to 25, then we got 26 with Apex Media. Now they have 6 there, Victor. What would you say about that? They have 6 in stock. What would you say on a listing like this?
Well, just to know that Apex has 6 copies, I already know that they're going to just reprice this book until they're able to sell it. So, but this book also has a lot of demand. So I wouldn't necessarily say I wouldn't buy it, but I would want to make sure that that's all that's there, right? Apex, only 6. Rent You is on it or anything else. And if that's the only case, then I'd still be interested in that book.
At what stock quantity would you be like, okay, there's absolutely no way. Like I'm just gonna for a book like this with this kind of sales rank with that seasonality, what offer count would you see that you're like, nah, I'm not even looking at it.
At a book like this, probably like 20. If Apex had 20 offers, 20 units, I would probably say no, because they're going to sell their units and bring this price down. So at that price, at that unit, I would say no.
Yep. Very good. All right. So let's continue here back on the 5-step profit checklist. So next thing we're going to look at is the new offer or the Amazon new price is consistently above your target selling price. Okay. So here what we're going to do is just think logically, right? So maybe we can even just take a look at this book here on Keepa. Obviously, on the Amazon marketplace, a customer's got a couple options, Victor, right? They can buy the book in used condition. They can buy it from a new party third seller, or they can buy it directly from Amazon. So what would be, let's see, like a kind of just a very logical thought process or rule behind your pricing if, let's say, we have a third-party seller on the listing at $44.
So we have like limits where we can price the book up to, and usually our limit is whatever Amazon's price is. So if Amazon's on the listing, that's our cap. Whatever that price is, we're not going to be outsell them, right? Because Amazon also is FBA, right? They're going to get their book in 2 days, and it's brand new, so they're going to buy it from Amazon first up. So just know that you're not going to be able to outprice them.
Right.
And then the new price, if it's not FBA, lots of times you can kind of compete with them very close to the same price, because now you've given a customer a choice. I can buy it new, not FBA, take 6 days, or buy it used and get it in 2 days. And so some customers will go the used way and some will go the new way. So that's why you can kind of price up to the new price. And so those are kind of like your price thresholds.
And what are you seeing, just to give this, just more examples for people to see? What are you kind of seeing with the used price relative to the new and Amazon prices over time for this?
It's actually pretty strong. I mean, the new price and the used price are kind of competing right next to each other, especially when it's the season of that book. So this is a college textbook. So every time in January and in September, they get really close to each other in the same price point. And just like we had said, that's the reason why, because more than likely this new seller or the new sellers are not FBA. And so you can kind of compete with them.
So let's zoom into a really interesting point where we see in May 2022, we actually see the used price jump above the Amazon and third-party new price. So we were here at 51 in used, which was under Amazon and the third-party new side. Then it jumps up to 79. And it's, obviously important to have a little context. The offer count's 4 to 5, 6, or right around that time. But what's going on here, Victor? Are these books probably selling at 79 when Amazon's on the listing?
So what's happening here is some people will just put their repricers on and have allowed each other to kind of follow each other up. So it does look like that the used price is that high, but it doesn't mean that those books are actually selling. More than likely, those are not selling, because you can kind of see the flat line on the used offer count.
Yeah.
And so that means that's great, but nobody's selling it at those prices. But once the price goes back down, now you're going to start seeing some more sales when it gets back under the Amazon new price.
And if I'm just thinking like a logical human being, if I'm a customer, Victor, coming to this book, I need it for college, and I've got three options. I can buy it new from a third-party seller for $58.50. I can buy it directly from Amazon, shipped to me in 2 days, brand new, no questions, I
Yeah.
can return it if I need to for $67.48. That's what I need to buy it for. Or I can buy it for $79.94 in used condition. Am I buying that book for
You're not
$79?
buying. You're not buying it. Matter of
I'm
fact,
not buying that book.
yeah,
Why would I
it's
give you $13 more for a used book when I can buy it from Amazon first? That makes no sense, right?
right.
So
It's more than likely even hidden on the website. You wouldn't probably even find these used sellers because Amazon is on the listing for $66. So
what is the only time during this little section where it's possible with some degree of likelihood that a used copy could have sold?
I think right there on May 10th, and it did
Yeah.
down, and you can see the used offer count moved up a little bit and then went back down. So
Yep.
it did sell right there, and then it went
Yep.
back up again.
Oop. So you can actually see that we had an offer count of, so it was 5, then went up to 6, and then as soon as the offer count went up to 7, boom, price drop. Why? Probably because a logical human being pricing this was like, oh, I've got a used book. Should I price it for more than Amazon like everyone else, or should I price it below the new third-party price? Like they priced it at $56,
And they
going back
priced
to
it right under.
yeah,
Exactly.
right under, competing with the new price. And what happened to the offer counter, Victor?
It then just started dropping as expected.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So hope that little bit of a deep dive there helped you guys out with the new offer and Amazon prices. Just think of them as a ceiling, right? If you think about a house, the ceiling is like you can't go above the ceiling. Like that's the highest you can go. Now, just quickly, we don't have to get too far into it. But Victor, what happens if the new offers, third party new offer, or the Amazon new offers, let's say they go out of stock? Does that mean we still have that cap if they go out of stock?
Yeah, good point. So where our ceiling used to be, if there's no longer that cap anymore, we no longer have that cap, and so there's a really good chance that the prices will start moving up from there. And that's another reason why we stuck the Amazon out of stock alert on BookMine. If that alerts you, that means Amazon just went out of stock within the last like few days. And more than likely, what's going to happen is the prices will start to spike from there. So yeah, it's definitely a great feature we've added and something you should look for.
Yep. So you can see all these books here. I mean, if you were to open any of these listings, you can see that Amazon has just gone out of stock. So there's more potential for the book to potentially sell for more. So I've definitely, I don't know about you, Victor, but I've definitely sold books 1.5x, 2x, 3x, 5x the MSRP price. It's possible. I'm not saying it happens every day, but it's not uncommon to do that. Because you got to think about it, right? If you got a book that's in high demand and not being sold in new condition, and there's not very many used offers, I mean, there's still tons of demand and very short supply. I mean, there's some small percentage of people willing to pay well above MSRP for it, right, Victor? So
That's right.
the last thing we're going to really touch on here is going to be the most recent edition. And so this is actually a little bit of a bonus. Technically, this is a 5-step profit checklist. This is the 6th thing here, but we're just going to throw this in as a little bonus because we know a lot of you out there are sourcing textbooks. Why? Because textbooks are very lucrative. Well, what we want to ask ourselves is if there is a new edition, kind of how do we go about that? So maybe what we could do, Victor, is just open up a couple of different textbooks here. Maybe we can try to find to see if there's a new edition. We can just do a little bit of just a little bit of analysis. So let's just take this first book here, Victor.
Okay.
How do you even know there's a new edition of this book? You open the Amazon.
I mean, one of the keys to seeing if there's going to be a new edition or if there is a new edition is if the current edition you're looking at has a high number. So like this is the 11th edition. So more than likely, we're going to have a 12th edition and we'll probably have it past that point. But the dead giveaway is that it says it on the Amazon page. There's a new edition of this book. So when you see that, I mean, definitely this book has a new edition. What I would do is I would go click on that book to see how long it's been in like a book, right? How long has it been in publication? And if it's been on publication for a while, I mean, I want to check that data out.
Yeah. So a couple ways you can do that. You can look at the Keepa graph to see when Keepa started recording history for this. So it looks like back in November of 2022. Another way is you could just scroll down to the Keepa, or you can scroll down on the Amazon webpage and you could actually look at the publisher date, right? So it would be May 11th, 2023. So I mean, what we can see is like clearly this is a book that is, I mean, relative to books on Amazon, a pretty new book still, right? When you say that.
Right.
And what are you noticing with the kind of used prices, used offer count of this book?
There really isn't a used offer count. Like there really isn't used sellers on this book yet. Basically, Amazon and the new price sellers own the market. Used sellers haven't been able to get any books that they could buy to resell here yet.
So this is a book that, is going to be used on a college campus, obviously. There's got to be some sort of circulation with this book. Like eventually, students are going to start selling this to buyback companies and there'll be, books that flood the market. But anyways, we want to come back to this book, the previous edition. And the reason why is because if we see the price tanking, Victor, and we see a new edition out, does that mean we got to run for the hills automatically, or kind of how would you deal with a book that's seeing a decrease in price, and then you also see there's a new edition out?
So what I would do first is look at that. Well, just what we did is look at the new book and see how long it's been out. And then I wanted to go and see that same period for the current book that we're interested in purchasing. So it's about a year old. So I want to see what's happened this year versus the year before.
Right.
And because more than likely that trend will kind of continue. So this year does look like the prices has kind of steadily went down, but I want to see if that is normal compared to the other year or not. And the fact that it's kind of, you see how once that like there's tons of it's a really popular book and then it's kind of dwindling.
Yeah.
Would give me a pause that I'm not sure I would buy this book just because it's really kind of diving there.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at how amazing the sales rank is from here to here. You can see it's quite low. That's what Victor is talking about. And then you can see as soon as that new book came out, you actually see that the sales rank has pretty much always been above that. So not a bad sales rank by any means, but it's definitely giving us pause that it's selling less frequently. And then the price of it's also starting to drop. So what we'll say is that there's a lot of nuance to this. Newer editions coming out, and it really comes down to practice and experience. You will make some mistakes with it, but I will definitely say that if there's a new edition available, it doesn't automatically mean you shouldn't buy the older edition. It just means that, hey, another data point to look at, and you're going to make your best educated guess. I'd say a lot of the times when there's a new edition, it's probably a bad idea to buy it, but definitely not in all cases.
I 100% agree to that. Some people tend to not want to buy any books that have new editions. I'm like, but everything has a new edition. If it's a successful book, it's going to have a new edition. So that doesn't necessarily mean not to buy it. There are tons of books that I'll buy that are the previous edition just because, you're giving a customer a choice. Either buy the $200 book, that's in the current edition, or buy the $60 book that is 2 years ago edition. And you give that to a college student, most likely the college student is going to pick the $60 book. So,
Totally. And you know what? Let's just go one step further here. One thing that I will say to avoid is if you ever see a book that has the actual year in it, what is that a sign of, Victor? Like if this said Principles of Neurology 2023, what would that kind of indicate if you saw like an actual date on the actual, like printed on the book?
that's definitely a yellow to red flag for me. That usually means that whatever is coming out is very, very sensitive to that year. So that like regulations that have just come out for that year or laws that have just come out or anything that's specific to that year. And because of that, I would stay away from those, especially if we're about to end that year. So if we were like November, December of 2024 and I see a 2024 book, I already know, oh, that book is on its way out, like because 2025 is about to come out.
Yeah. So I'm essentially just typing in the same thing, ICD-10. It's just a book for code, and it has the year in it, 2022, 2023, 2024. And I'm kind of hovering over the Keepa graphs, and you can kind of progressively see how the book is losing value over time. And the reason for it is that because the publishing cycle, the time between one edition and the next edition is so short, it's 1 year, there's just going to be a lot more books in the same given time. So, you're going to have more tanking. So that's the 2024. Here's the 2021. You can see it's basically worthless. So if you guys see a year in the book, that's probably like the one thing that's going to be, for me at least, is definitely, it's getting close to a red flag almost all the time. So unless you think you can sell it in that given year and like flip it and sell it quickly, for the most part, I would recommend staying away from books like that. But Victor, we went over a lot. This is a long video because we wanted to give you guys a 5-step profit checklist with a little bonus there. I think if you guys follow this, it'll be a really great way for you guys to utilize BookMine and make sure you guys are buying great books. Victor, anything else you want to add before we kind of end the video here?
No, just I would print this out. I would put it on your desk, and it would help keep you safe, and also help you build your book business. So yeah, that's what I would do.
Absolutely. So I hope you guys utilize this. Again, you can get it for free. It's just linked down in the description, and we'll see you on the next video. So have a good one, and goodbye.
Thanks, guys.